Hey guys, can you hear me okay?
Yes, Nilesh, how you doing?
Pretty
Yes.
good, pretty good. Hi. Hi, everybody. Okay, let's start the virtual machine and get to the track on which we were doing an exercise on. Hey, Mohammed, you actually you generate some noise when you have your microphone open. I think that noise is coming from.
Yeah, hold on. Okay. Hold on. How about now?
Yeah, no noise. I think that's what you should keep. So whenever you speak or you keep the microphone open, you generate some noise occasionally.
Yeah, because it's I had a fan by me. That's why.
Okay. That's what happens. So, okay. So what we were doing the other day, I think yesterday we had a Git session, which I believe you had now a recording for that. And I know some of you actually had difficulty in joining through using your iPhone. iPhone should work. I have seen this thing work with iPhone.
I don't know. I did join by using my iPhone before, but yesterday I don't know. Able to connect.
Yeah, occasionally it runs into some issues somewhere. So I don't know. I never tested the iPhone app, but I know it works. I have seen it working with other people have tell me that, it works on iPad, iPhone, everything. And so it should work. But yesterday it did not.
I don't know what happened yesterday.
Yeah. So even if you had that version of the iPhone and have all that taken care of, you will probably have had not the ability to participate in the exercises we did yesterday, because the idea was to actually do hands-on. And so we did a little bit of hands-on work yesterday with Git. And I hope you found it useful. So the Git sessions.
Yeah, I watched the video when I come home.
Okay. Good.
So yeah. So it's okay. I did practice a little bit, but I have to review one more time.
Yeah,
a lot of things to take care of it. So it's
yes, there are lots of things. Yeah, it doesn't actually. You will keep on learning new things to do with Git, because it is quite comprehensive in its capabilities, and that makes it not very easy to actually quickly get to a point where we can make use
exactly.
of it.
If you keep using it, then you got it.
You will slowly over time learn it. But I think with 80% of the things are actually focused on this idea. 80% of things you do with that particular product is actually is limited to basic collaboration. So things like you create a branch that you work on, you create content, and maintain your state of the folder, and you preserve that, and you basically participate with somebody else who's also creating their own content, and at some point they want to give it back to the main branch. So that collaboration that we did the other day is actually the core function that you can see. Other people also collaborate and create their own updates and then send it over, and that you will incorporate into another.
See, this kind of things, I don't know, but basic stuff like create by using git init, git add, git commit.
Yeah, that is like basic stuff.
Push and pull. That I know. That's I have used, but the branching and then merging with other, or sharing with others. So that's the things I really need to grab on.
We did some branching merging the other day, yesterday. So you review that, and if you want more, we'll do more of that. But for right now, let us stay focused on what we are doing.
Sure.
Which is
if I need, I'll get back to you.
Yes, please. So right now we were doing this exercise in which we had a desired outcome. Desired outcome was that we would like to have a box configured as MySQL server, and we know the root password, and we define it, whatever that password is, and make it work so that a new empty box, this is like just enough operating system that you get from some cloud service provider, and you transition this state from here to here. that's the outcome, the desired outcome that we wanted to wanted to produce using the method of automation using Chef. That was the exercise. Did any of you attempt to do that at all? There are 6 people. I did not see any attempt whatsoever.
No,
Nobody
I
attempted.
didn't have the chance either.
Oh, I know. So that's the hard part, which is when nobody actually attempted, which is unfortunate. But it tells me something that you are busy with something else, like keeping you, either you're busy with something that is keeping you busy at your work, or maybe you're doing something else that is you're getting bored with this stuff. So one of these things is happening. So I just want to make sure that it is not boredom, but it is preoccupation with some other more important thing that you may be dealing with, which is, I hope it is that the case. But if you're finding this exercise is boring, I would like to know that, because I don't want to bore you. So my outcome that I wanted here, desired outcome, I want to enable this from a just enough operating system, just random machine that you get from some cloud provider. And you want to convert that automated into this desired outcome, right? That's what we wanted. And we will use Chef. So we have that exercise written here. You set up a node that has a MySQL server with root password and all that good stuff. So we will do that since we have not actually done it on our own as a homework assignment. We will do this exercise first before we jump on to the next exercise, which is going to be a little bit more intense. And it is increasing the complex to go from here to the other ones, which is this module number 8 actually is one of the most intense exercises we have up until now. So this module 8 deploys a complete application and its stack of dependencies in the cloud using Chef. That exercise, module 8, is fairly complex, but we will do it. Yeah, sometimes it takes 6 hours for me to make sure that everything is completely understood by everybody. But I hope not. I hope we'll not take that long. The 6 hours that I was, we had a large group of people, and I went slow to make sure everybody understands it. So that's the problem that I think we will not have in our case, which is a small group right now. We have 5 to 6 people sometimes, so that's not a big deal. We should be able to move through that faster, but just remember that module number 8 is quite complex. It is comprehensive. We create custom cookbooks and all that good stuff. But before that, today, as we proceed, I would like to quickly check a couple of things. Are we recording? I think we are. And it should show that we are recording. Yes, it is. So,
yes,
it's
recording.
And our goal right now is to do this exercise first before we proceed forward. So now let us understand this very clearly. We want a node. So first thing first, get a node. So you can get a node from just about anywhere. My preferred place to get a machine is this. For a reason, it is so quick, is that I don't have to even think about it. I just get it. So I will do that just now, get a machine from there, go to DigitalOcean and copy this token and log in. And oops, I closed Chrome by mistake. So let's go back to Chrome. And Chrome coming up, and now we have a droplet that we want to create, and so there we do not have any droplet, so we will just quickly create a machine. Our goal is beginning from just in a box, this one. From here we want to go to this state. That's the goal. We want to go do this through Chef method of doing, accomplishing a desired outcome and maintaining that outcome, right? We want to maintain the state of the box with a MySQL server database. It's basically a database server that you manage, you control. It's your root password on that database box. That's what we'd like to have. And so we have to beginning point is get a box, empty box. So empty box, create a droplet, and this Ubuntu is good enough. $5 is great. Choose a region and put your key and give it a name. So this will be my MySQL. That's just a name that I want to use create. So I created a box. I will also like to assign a particular DNS name to this box, such as cloudflare.com, and I will go and assign a new DNS name to this box. I'll log in, and once I log in, I should be able to get into two-factor authentication. And Cloudflare two-factor authentication is remember and proceed. So that is our Cloudflare DNS, and we will create a new entry here. We'll call it, let's see if we already have one entry called MySQL. And apparently there is no DNS record for MySQL. So I want to create a new entry called mysql.cloudgenie.us and put an IP address there. Give it a 2-minute timeout, TTL. And that IP address is now available. We'll copy it, put it here in that box. And so mysql.cloudgenie.us, 2-minute TTL, add the record. Now we have it. So this new domain, subdomain got created, which means we can go back here in our folder. In our folder, we had this MyCloud folder that we were working on. We'll open that in Atom and make a couple of quick changes, some cleanup, because that's an old exercise we were doing. So I want to clean that up. First thing first, I get rid of this cookbooks folder completely. I will also get rid of the database data bags, delete that, deleting all this. So just making some room for us to play with and deleting it, all of it, this environment. We don't need to actually make use of it right now. That was more like an example. This name, Web1, I want to rename it and call it MySQL. That's the name I intend to use. So I will save it with a .json extension. And in there, this environment line is not necessary. And we will proceed forward. This role will be some kind of a DB role. So I would like to rename this role that we have into a database role. Just a name. You can choose any name, actually. It doesn't matter what names you have. The role here becomes DB. The name becomes database, and the base role for database boxes. So that becomes a base role for nodes that serve as. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. As database servers, and the role, and these are default attributes. We can get rid of that. And our run list contains a Nginx recipe, which is not correct. We want to run the MySQL server recipe. And so that's the change I did to the database JSON file, which has a role definition now, which is now I'm including here. And that becomes my machine reference. Now I would like to see if I have site cookbooks. No, I don't. I have a Burks file and to get the MySQL cookbook. And I need to delete this old log file. And that goes to trash. The gem, I need to trash it also. Gem file delete. So all of basically beginning from fresh. Gem file, have these 4 gems. Burks file, have the MySQL cookbook. Git ignore is ignore file with ignoring cookbooks folder. So we'll create an empty cookbook folder here. Say new folder, call it cookbooks, that is empty. I made a typing mistake, so I'll rename it and make it cookbooks. And now we have a cookbooks folder, which is empty. We have data bags, which is empty, environments empty, nodes, which has 1 entry with a pointer to role DB and a DB role there. And the DB role basically says it's a database role. The run list that runs the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. We'll also grab the MySQL cookbook from Burks file, and our gem file basically has all those gems that we need. That's the change I made. Now, after having done that, I will test connection to this box. So I will open terminal and test my connection to MySQL and see if it connects. And it did. So that is nice. So we will go back to here. And now I will just compare my notes with the answer that I have. I'm going to come out of that machine back. So back in the folder that I'm working on, this is the content of the folder. And I'm going to do some cheating. As in, I'll go refer to my notes, which has the solution. And I'll compare with my solution what I'm actually doing to help you understand what exactly that I just did. And is that actually accurate? So the solution that I have described here actually is a little bit old. It says 561. And I have chosen to use Burks file 563, right? Cookbook MySQL 563. It should be okay. There should not be any problem there.
That's the equal sign or the, yeah.
I removed that. So yeah. So 563, 561 should not be a big deal. And then I have to run Burks update. And then let us proceed forward. When you run a Burks update, you close it back here in this location. First of all, I'll do a bundle install, which I have deleted my lock file for the gem file lock is gone. So I need to run bundle again. So I will run bundle first step, which will bundle up all the gems. And then this will finish fast, quickly and finished. So we now have the next step, which is Burks update. And it's going to basically get this cookbook for me 563 instead of 561. So slight deviation. Burks install. This is install as in because I've deleted the lock file. So there's nothing to update, but actually this lock file will get created. It just got created there. And this has a reference to MySQL cookbook 563. And that's what we wanted. And so the Burks has finished installing this cookbook, MySQL. And it also has some dependencies. Those dependencies were the Yum cookbook and the Yum MySQL community cookbook. So these two cookbooks were required by the MySQL cookbook. So we had Burks install, which identified the dependencies and also installed these two, even though we did not call them specifically. So it installed MySQL 563, but also got these two because they're required. That's what we have in the Burks file lock, which shows, MySQL has these dependencies of MySQL community, Yum MySQL community, and then a dependency on Yum, and a dependency on Yum MySQL community, which in turn has a dependency on Yum. So this is a graph of all the dependencies. That's what is written down in the lock file for Burks. And similarly, this gem file lock also has cross dependencies of all the gems that we need. We needed only 4 gems, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, these 4 gems we wanted. So that's how these log files create. Now we have done the Burks update, which is effectively, in our case, I did a Burks install instead because I deleted the lock. So we had to do install as opposed to update. Next, we have to define a node. So in our example here, I seem to have chosen Web2 as the name. In our case here, we have chosen the name MySQL. It is conceptually similar, except in this example, I'm making it even further simpler by not using a role at all. And I'm going to delete that role just to cut down any confusion. So even not using the role either. We're just staying as simple as we can. So nothing inside cookbooks, nothing in roles, nothing in environment, nothing in DB. Just keep it simple, just in the node. And in that node, we are going to use a reference to the cookbook directly, like this. And we will invoke the MySQL cookbook and the server recipe inside. Now, before we invoke that run list, we want to call out certain attributes, and we want to provide those attributes in the node definition itself. That's the simplest way to actually accomplish this. So this construct with a comma at the end is what we will add. And so let us read that very carefully. So there are 2 parts to it. One part I just added from line number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These three items that you see here, which are specifying the root password, the replication password, and the Debian password for the box that we want to set up. So these are variables we are overriding. We are basically overriding the variables defined in the cookbook, defined in the MySQL cookbook. That's what we are effectively doing by this lines number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's what we are doing. We are overriding the variables. These 3 variables are server root password, server replication password, server Debian password. These 3 passwords we want to override. They are actually here in the cookbooks folder inside, which Burks shelf will get us that cookbook, but we can read the cookbook directly by going to supermarket and chef. And in that supermarket, we will go search for MySQL cookbook and look for MySQL cookbook, and then identify the source code for that, and go to the source code and drop down to go to the appropriate tag, which we are using 563 tag. So in that tag, we have some attributes defined in the default file. The attributes are server root password I like random passwords. Server Debian password is nil. Server replication password is also nil. So I want to actually override these values by calling them out. I'm calling them out by doing what? I'm calling them out by name. Specifically, I'm saying override these guys for me and use the values I want. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These are the values I'm arbitrarily choosing as my password values, whereas the cookbook by default has decided to choose this as the password. The password, if you don't specify anything, will become I like random passwords. That's not what you want. You may want something else. So what we are essentially demonstrating in this example is how do you override attributes directly at the node level, like this. And then you invoke the run list itself, which is what we are going to do after this comma. The next thing is run list. And in that run list, run the server recipe for the MySQL cookbook. So which means go to the recipe called server. That's the recipe. There is no default recipe, by the way. As you can see, MySQL server and MySQL client, there are two cookbooks, and one of them is a server deprecated cookbook, which we are not using. It is deprecated, but the MySQL server has a cookbook, this one, and MySQL client has a separate cookbook. But as you can see, there is no such thing as this, because what this means is : default. That's what it means. But there is no default cookbook at all, as you can see in the source code. So 563 MySQL recipes, there is no default recipe. By default, it doesn't know what to do. So you have to basically call out, I need to run server. And that's what you need to specify like that. So then this particular cookbook recipe for server will get picked up and get run. And before it runs, you are overriding the password 1, 2, 3, as opposed to attributes, default, and the password is I like random passwords. So you are basically overriding those three values with what you want. And that's the definition that we would like to call for that JSON file we have here, which is placed in the nodes folder here. And our roles is empty, environment empty, data bag empty, cookbook currently empty. It will fill up momentarily, it will fill it up. And site cookbooks empty, and get ignore is ignore file, as you know already. And I'm going to now save this particular JSON. This JSON will be responsible for the DNA injection. As you know, my example analogy that I gave, which is biologically incorrect. But you know, I want to basically take this DNA injection and accomplish the desired outcome by creating what I wanted, which is I will inject my DNA into this box. And then it creates a box containing my SQL server with root password equals 1, 2, 3. That's my choice. That's what I chose, right? That's the password I want. So I will get that box created momentarily as soon as I invoke and apply this DNA, inject it to this box, and I get this outcome, and that's good. That's exactly what I want. That's what you're looking at. So quickly summarizing, cookbook folder is currently empty. Data bags contain nothing, environments contain nothing, nodes contain nothing. So node does contain something, this one file. Roles contains nothing, site cookbooks nothing. This node is the crux. We are overriding 3 variables and calling out the run list for MySQL cookbook server recipe. That's pretty much it. With that, let us run Chef. So we'll run Chef on that target box we have there, this box. And what I will do is I will invoke Chef. How do you invoke? Basically, you can do it in 2 different ways. One method is to run your prepare command followed by another command to cook. So you prepare the box, then you cook the box, and if you want to do it a one shortcut, you can just bootstrap the box. That's equivalent. So it's very, very same. So it's basically the same thing. bootstrap that box. So to bootstrap the box, there is a command for that, which is very similar to prepare and cook command, followed by the other. And so we will run that command. In the example we have is a bootstrap usage. So we will run that exact command, which is basically knife solo, or rather bundle exec. Sorry, I forgot the bundle exec part. Bundle exec, knife solo, bootstrap, and then root at mysql.cloudgenie.us. And that should be it. We should also pass our actually this is not required, it will pick up. So just enter, and this will connect to the box, and then install Chef, run Chef, upload our kitchen, and make that box basically into a MySQL database box. So currently that box, if you look on that machine, this machine, I'm connecting to it right now on a separate terminal, and you will see that it does not currently have MySQL because there is nothing there already, right? So if I say, do I have any MySQL process running? Answer is no. Do I have any MySQL server being set up? Currently, the kitchen is getting uploaded to that box. The target box is actually receiving this MySQL box that we have in DigitalOcean, is receiving the kitchen and uploading the configuration. You can see that these actions of installation are happening. And once that installation happens, we select 1, 2, 3. See that password is already set according to what we wanted. So MySQL Server root password selected 1, 2, 3. We did not have to type anything by hand. It is automatically picking up. If you remember, when you install it by hand, it actually makes you type the password 2 times. But in our example, we were able to finish the action of installing the whole thing and modified the password and all that good stuff because we called it out very clearly in the installation, in our definition for the node, that we want the password to be 1, 2, 3. And so that's what we now have in this box. We should now run ps-ef one more time, and you see that this is the MySQL server running already. And that's the MySQL user running that MySQL server. Now, in order to test and validate it, we need to have MySQL client, so we can just test and validate. The validation step actually is also defined here. As you know, I validated that the other day by hand. And so I'm going to read what we have in our write-up so that it matches what I'm doing by hand, by the way. And then in the next step, we want to validate what we actually did. Is it actually working the way it works? So we will connect to the box, like we just are showing in this example. We will connect to that box over there, which we are connected already. So I'm just going to, quit this, and we are connected to that box over there, the remote location that we have, which has this MySQL server running. So you can see that it has MySQL server installed. And you can check that the version installed and all that. And we have already seen the process, so we can skip forward.
It's not 5.6.3 though, right?
No, that is the cookbook version. That was the cookbook version. So listen, that's not the version of the SQL database.
Oh, okay.
The version of the cookbook, right here. You're selecting the cookbook version, which is what the cookbook iterations are. They're not database versions. You'll call them out a specific version differently. This version is the MySQL database version. Now, it changes. Actually, it picks up the latest version for that 5 branch. See, my notes show 5.5.41 Ubuntu, whereas the current run shows 5.5.49 Ubuntu. So it has picked up the fixes that were released for Ubuntu. So it automatically picks up the latest because that's what the cookbook says, is to pick up the version 5.5 latest. So it picks it up. And this is actually a fresher version than what the notes say. Okay, now let us test. Do we have a method to connect to this MySQL server on a database client? So let us see if we can run MySQL, and then let us see if the MySQL command is available. So it's not able to access without password, which is a good sign. So MySQL minus user root and then the password is 123, and let me in, and we got in, we got connected. So we were able to not access it because we were not giving a password. However, in the next attempt, I provided the root password 123, and then I'm connected to the MySQL database. You can see here that it is actually connected directly. And so you can see the databases out there, and you can exit and all that good stuff. So essentially, we succeeded. What we did was we were able to do this bootstrap command. We were able to configure that particular node, and we can keep cooking over and over and over again. Like, okay, go cook. And this is the idempotency of the operations of Chef. Like, you can repeatedly do the same thing over and over, and you can see that the box maintains its state. So we would like to maintain the state of this box. The desired outcome should always persist, right? That's what I want, the desired outcome. So on this box that we have, we'll keep running that Chef cook. We'll keep cooking this box over and over and over again. It will maintain the state. The root password 123 and all that good stuff will sustain. Even if somebody by mistake something goes wrong, you can just cook, and you can repeatedly keep cooking and maintain the desired outcome. Maintain the desired outcome. That's the idea behind what we just did. So it ran that thing again. It finished it faster this time because there was nothing to do. And so in fact, the notes are the shell command shows nothing much. It just runs Chef. It installs, check the Chef version, sends the work shelf cookbooks to the cookbooks folder, resolving dependencies, and starting the client run for Chef. And it says that everything was already up to date, so nothing to do. All the actions are skipped, and it did nothing, 0 out of 15, and it came out. It basically did nothing. So that's what we have in this example. That we just finished doing that. Let us also check one last thing before we change topic, is that our cookbooks that we wanted are now rendered here. The Workshelf file, Workshelf gem will automatically render the appropriate cookbooks when you want them. So it just brings up the appropriate relevant 3 cookbooks, MySQL cookbook, the Yum cookbook, and the Yum MySQL community cookbook. They all show up in the cookbooks folder automatically when you invoke that knife tool. And this is what pulls it. So it wants the MySQL server. So it looks up here and grabs that cookbook from there and loads them up in this folder as needed. As you can see in the MySQL cookbook, the metadata actually says, let's see if I can fold it, view, soft wrap. And so here you can see that it specifies what it needs. And you can actually go and read that cookbook itself. You can see that the recipes, there are a client recipe, which we did not use. There is a server recipe, which is what we used. And in the attribute section, there is a default attribute, which is I like random passwords. But in our example, we chose to override them by saying 1, 2, 3. And that's the exercise. Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense what we did?
Yes.
Cool. Any questions on this before we change topics? I'm assuming there are no questions, which is very strange, but that's okay. That's okay. I can understand. So what I want to do next is, we've been using Chef solo. It does not require a server. Server not required. I should say Chef server not required. Not required. So it works on its own by itself. And that's the scenario we have been playing up until now. But I want to change topics a little bit and actually introduce the other version, the other iteration of the same binary, which has a client and server combination. it is a Chef server. It is not your server box that you just had. This is different from a box that you get. It has to be actually running this software. This software is also open source. This software is open source. You can get them at this location. And so in that location, you will find this company provides Chef server software, which was updated 3 hours ago. But keep updating, they keep it up to date. And also the Chef client software, which we just saw a little bit ago, is this software, which was updated 4 hours ago, 7 hours ago, something like that. So it's very rapidly under development. People develop on it all the time. The tags, if you can look at 12.8 is the latest. We've been using a little bit older version of Chef, which is fine, nothing wrong with that. But you can change the version you like. You can control what you're dealing with through constructs such as that gem file I mentioned. And so that is Chef client, and this is your Chef server software. Both of them are open source, and yes, we will install both of them, use them, and all that. However, Chef server installation is a chore. So I want to not do those things right now, but instead get to the point where we actually use a ready-made server. So we'll use a ready-made solution, and it is free with some limitations. So we'll understand those limitations and then make use of the free solution, which is ready for us. So we don't have to worry about this part, right? That's what I want to cut down my worry. So I don't want to worry about this. And so I want to use a ready-made solution, which is free, and it has some limitations. That ready-made solution is made available by a company called also Chef. And Chef.io is the name. And what they do is provide you with a service for Chef server. And that service actually lives in this location, manage.chef.io. In that site, you should sign up. It is free, as in $0. And it is also open source, but the open source version does not contain certain aspects. So the free version is available to you. However, the limitations are you can manage up to 5 nodes for free. If you want to go beyond that, then they'll charge you. Basically, they'll ask you for a credit card at that time. So they'll ask you for a credit card if you want to go beyond 5. Without giving a credit card, you're probably limited to this number, which is fine for us. We're just starting 1 or 2 nodes to begin with. As we need more, we will set up our own Chef server if we get to that point. So for right now, set up and go to that location, which is manage.chef.io, and click. That is where you should sign up. Takes like 2 seconds to sign up, create an account, log in. And as you actually create an account, remember, it will give you a download. And so remember that you want to keep that download very, very safe. Safe as in your VM, because it contains some credentials. Now you'll remember this discussion we had in the other day, which is these keys on module number 4. Keys to connect to Chef server. That is what you are going to receive from this company when you sign up, that they will give you keys to connect to Chef server. And that will contain these PEM files that I'm talking about right now in this discussion. And so you will receive, as you sign up from here, get started, manage.chef.io, sign up. And I'm going to paste a link for you in Slack chat. So that's where you sign up. And when you do, the trial is not time bound. It does not end by any time by itself, unless the limitations, as I said, are 5 nodes under management. So that's the limitation that I know of from this company. They may be changing some limitations, but I think it should be okay for you to sign up and use it. They will not ask you for a credit card. So they will give you those keys, by the way. And so you want to keep those safe. You want to find out how the keys are made available to you. You should read this, which is the next module we are starting up, which is module number 7. And in this, what we are basically doing is signing up. And once you sign up, it gives you a download. the download looks something like this. I will also show you what you will see when you actually goes and sign up. What would you see is something like this. Let me log in. Let me log in here. I'm going to, by the way, use the virtual machine to log in for the downloads. Make it easy on you. Don't use an external browser, but instead go to virtual machine and go to manage.chef.io. There's a bookmark already made available to you. So that bookmark you can use to click. And that is how you should sign up to get started. I have a login already, so I will just log in. So I logged in and it is letting me in. But when you sign up, you will get a slightly different screen, which is very different from what I will see. I will see something that I have been already using it, but you are first time probably, so you will see a very different screen. What you will see is something like this. Thank you for choosing. That's the screen you're likely to see. Now, I don't see that screen when I log in because I have to actually remember that you will see the screen. So I have actually bookmarked it. So I know what to show you when you actually see it. So when you log in and you sign up, that's what you will see. It will also ask you for not only your name, but your organization name. What does that mean? So there are two things to give to this chef sign up that you're doing on this manage.chef.io. You have to give them your name. And in addition to that, they will also ask you for an organization name. Let me tell you what this means. This basically means, a team name, a project name, a group name, a company name, whatever you call it. That's the name that is different from your name, which is also going to be your login name. And in my case of the organization name, I have chosen the word CLASS. That's the name I chose for my organization. And the name for myself is a little bit different. Not Nilesh, but it is this name. So that's the name I chose. That's my choice. And this is my choice. You can choose whatever you feel like. That becomes your name and your organization name. This doesn't have to be the company you work for, because very likely that name is already taken, or may not be, maybe not. So it depends on which company you work for, but that organization name does not have to be your company name. It can be any random character string. Like in my case, class. That's the name I chose. I also have other names, but for this purpose, we are using this name. So that's the names I have, my name and my organization name. These two names will generate this view for you. This view is what you will see when you provide the details, and tell me that you actually see them when you see. Because this is the screen I would like you to be. And then I would like you to actually download this starter kit. That starter kit contains the credentials you want. So there is a PEM file for you, and there is another PEM file for the organization. And these two PEM files are included in the starter kit that you will download right there. So these two plus a couple of other things. In fact, a whole kitchen is available for download. Your whole kitchen. It will give you a ready-made kitchen to use. The chef kitchen that we have been talking about, using it, then you will now receive a complete kitchen ready-made. This is ready-made given to you. And so you will use that kitchen. They're not using the word kitchen right now in that website. They're using the word starter kit. But that is what this kitchen essentially is help you start with using their chef server. So it's a ready-made kitchen. They call it chef-repo. That's the name I think they use. Sometimes we will call it kitchen. Sometimes we'll call it starter kit. But essentially, it's a zip file that contains all those usual suspects. Like you know this, you know these things already. You will have a .chef folder and a, cookbooks folder and data bags and environment and node and all that. That's what you will have in that starter kit that you will download right now. I want you to download this starter kit, which is going to be your kitchen. The name will likely be this. That's the name it's going to be expanded as. And you want to use this folder as your kitchen to work on this exercise. It is going to be customized for each and every one of you. The starter kit will be unique to you. It will contain these elements, all these things that you see in this folder. But this is from the prior exercise, so I'm going to actually close it. And on the terminal, I will remember that I'm not going to use that particular MyCloud project, not here, but instead stay in my current folder, which is this one. That's what I am. And I want to go back to that site and download the starter kit. So click, proceed, and it downloads. So you just save that file into your download folder, and that's where you have it. So in that downloads folder pops up here, and you have this starter kit called chef-starter.zip. That's the zip package we want from this site. And so that is the kit you got, you just obtained. You download that kit just like that. It is in your downloads folder as a zip file. You want to expand it, like right click and extract here. Right click and extract here to generate this new folder that I said chef-repo. That's the kitchen that you want to work with. Like I said here, that's the folder name you will generate. So you have this zip that expanded into this location, and that's the folder we work with. And so you want to take that folder and move it to your home. See what I'm doing from my downloads folder from here? I'm taking this folder away to my home and drop it in home. And then close. Now I have the folder in our home. Right there. And it is June 29, 1746. So I just downloaded that folder, unzipped it, and now this folder is available to me in my terminal. I will now go in that folder and open Atom in that folder. So we now have access to all the content. Let us see what we got. We got a folder called .chef, a folder called cookbooks and roles, and some starter cookbook is available to us. A role is defined. There's the README file also available. And so that's the thing that you're looking at right now. There is a PEM file here for my name. And this PEM file is the personal credential that I have been provided. As you know, I said you will receive a PEM file for your name. So there is a name.pem file available in that folder .chef. That's what we have just downloaded. You also have a knife.rb. And by the way, my organization name is not class, but classroom. So that's the name I have. So slightly different. I forgot my name. The name is, for me, it is a classroom. And so the name was, org name was classroom. This may be different for you depending on what you choose. The organization name may be different. And so you will also notice something that I also noticed is that this PEM file was not made available to us. I just saw that that file is missing. Something must be changing with Chef. With iterations like newer iterations, they must have modified something that does not seem to require this PEM at all anymore. So we don't have it. It did not give it to us, which is okay. I understand it that they did not give, but we have to find out why they did not give. Must have changed something. Things change. So this PEM is not made available to us by the Chef server, which is understood. We don't need it right away. We have this PEM file that we have already placed in this folder here, this nilesh.pem, and the knife RB. Like in a previous example, we have one cookbook already called starter, and we have a role defined here called starter. And let us see what do we have in our exercise there. So in our browser, the exercise we were trying to accomplish was module related to this Chef server. So we were doing this, right, in which I'm basically describing what you will receive. So you will receive things like this, like I had this classroom validator.pem was expected. I did not see it. But apart from that, we have everything else in our starter chef-repo folder. So with that understood, let us play with a different cloud this time. And we want to make sure that we are using Amazon cloud back again. In our Amazon cloud, we have to select our region. And by the way, one more thing I would like to point out, which is a new thing. In Amazon, they have now introduced a Mumbai region, which is nice for people who have customers in India. So new region recently announced Mumbai, in addition to Singapore and Seoul and Tokyo. So Asia Pacific regions, they have additions to in Mumbai. There are some limitations in Mumbai. You can only get big size machines, not small size machines, but at least they have something there. And then another thing that I wanted to mention is this Elastic File System. We discussed it briefly a little bit ago. Is not available in Mumbai. It is available in Oregon. And the important thing here is this is not in preview anymore. It is available to everybody. So you should see it in your account. Elastic File System starting today. I think the news came out today that this is now generally available so that you can use Elastic File System. It is basically conceptually similar to the thing we discussed the other day. It's based on an open source project. It's a network file system basically for use a shared file system. So with that, then go to your region such as Oregon or Virginia, depending on where you are, and then get ready to manage your security groups. So in our security group, make sure that your security settings are allowing port number 22, port number 80, and port number 443. So these ports need to be available for us for open traffic. You want to keep them open so that we can get into the box, run some services on these ports. That's the idea we want to have. So our security settings should actually allow traffic on these ports, which basically boils down to you going to your EC2 section in your cloud and identify a security group that you want to use. So we have these two security groups. I'll ignore both of them. And then create a new one. And this one I want to use in I don't have a VPC in this section. Okay. So I will go back to another cloud where I might have a ready-made VPC, which I want to use. I don't usually use the default VPCs. So that's why I am changing my region to Northern California. Looking at my security groups, I have the default ones that I will not want to use. So I'll ignore all of them. I'll delete these security groups that I don't want to use. And so they are all gone. These security groups have some cross dependencies, so I need to remove them. Let's see if there is a cross dependency there. No, but what about outbound? No, so this should delete correctly. So we can delete security group, say yes. So there is a dependency because the jump box dependency has a referencing security group, which is this box. So I need to delete that first. And then I can delete the other security group that I don't want anymore called jump box, and that goes away. And so now I have clean. All these are defaults. I don't want to use any of them. So I'll create a new security group for this exercise in the CloudGenius VPC. And in that VPC, what I will do is create a new group for Chef Server Exercise. And we will call it the Chef Server Exercise. And name it like so. And open rules for SSH for HTTP. and for HTTPS. So 3 ports I opened up, and that's what you should see, that this new custom security group we want to create is allowing us for traffic 22, 80, and 443 ports from anywhere. Create. We'll use this particular security group for our Chef server exercise. And that's what we intend to do. So that's the proper security setting, that we will use that particular security group. We also want to make sure our key pair is available with Amazon. So our key pair that we have, let's see if we have our key pair. Our key pair, we don't know what these guys are, so I'll delete them and import our key pair that I want to choose, ID underscore RSA, and paste my public key, which is available right somewhere in my VM. So in my VM, let us see if I have a public key pair already. There we go. So I'll just use this public key from here and copy, take it to here and paste and save. So now I have my key already now with that particular region, Northern California, and let's keep going. So we have a key pair taken care of. We want to make sure that we will use that key pair that we have. And so we also want to get our credentials for Amazon, so we can operate on it. Right? In this idea of getting a credential from Amazon, you have to go basically to IAM, Identity and Access Manager. So which is this section here, Security and Identity section, Identity Access Manager, click there and create a credential for your use. So you have to create a user basically and call it my Chef server exercise. Chef server exercise, for which I'm creating a custom new user with this name and generate a key for each user. That's what I want to do. So I'll create a key pair and show these credentials, copy them for the Chef server exercise and put them in my VM in a notepad. So I have a new file and I'll paste them there. So these are the keys, these are the credentials I want to use. They're the secret key, the access key for this user. And I will keep them somewhere safe as my notes. So these are my notes. So I'll put them in my Chef repo, which is the exercise I'm dealing with right now, and save it. So these notes contain my Chef exercise credentials that I intend to use in just a minute. We have them. So we can say close, and this user got created. But this user does not have any capability to do anything on my account, which means I need to add this user to able to be accessed EC2 managers. I want to actually work on EC2 using the exercise that I want to work on. So I will allow it to be able to operate on EC2. Now this EC2 manager is a group name. It may not be available on your computer in your account because I created it. So before I use this group, I want to show you how to create an EC2 manager group. So you have to go to group, create a new group, call it EC2 capable people, and then just give it a name, random name, like EC2 manager name is taken, so I'm using this name. But in that exercise, what I want to really do is allow EC2 full access. This policy I'm checking off. So I'm saying, yes, I want this particular group. I want to attach the policy for Amazon EC2 full access. And next step, and create that group. So now I have a new group called EC2 capable people, as opposed to EC2 managers. And in that EC2 capable people is a new group, which is equivalent to the EC2 manager group. These two groups are essentially the same. In this newly created group, there is no user, 0 users. So what I can do is take this newly created user that I have, this one, and add that user to the EC2 capable people group. So that means my user, this one, will get ability to manage EC2 machines on my account. As soon as I make it EC2 capable people group membership, add to group, so that credential activates and it gives me the ability to actually operate on EC2. So I will have it safe and I have it provided capability as a part of the group membership here, which tells me that I can now use that credential that I have. And we need to make sure that these credentials are actually incorporated into the knifeRB file. So this knifeRB file that sits here, we need to have our credentials, put credentials here. So we're going to put them here in a specific fashion. Let us see how you put them. So it has a syntax and a structure of keeping your credentials inside the knifeRB file. There is a systematic method of doing that. That method is defined in this particular edit. As you can see here in the example, I'm asking you to do a couple of changes. One of them is to modify the cookbook path. Edit the cookbook path in your knifeRB like this. And that editing has a meaning to it. Let us understand what that edit is. We'll go to our cookbook path reference, which is currently showing like line number 9. But in our example, I'm asking you to change it to something like line number 16. So the difference between 9 and 16 essentially is this. I'm adding a new item there. The current directory ... cookbooks already exists. I'm adding this reference so that I can expand my cookbook path to include any custom creations that I will have in form of site cookbooks. And so therefore, I want to replace this line with this line like this. That's what I just did. Modified my cookbook path. This allows me to expand the cookbook path definition to go and explore the site cookbooks folder first, and then the cookbook folder. That's the path sequence that we have defined now. Expanded it. Save. Back again, we have to do a couple more edits. For example, if you want to provide your Amazon credentials, you would like to do it this way. You want to use Rackspace, you would like to do it this way. DigitalOcean, like this. And for every cloud provider, there is a method of putting credentials here in the knifeRB. And the way you add credentials is like this. So in this example, this put credentials here can go now because we are actually about to put our credentials right in the right location. In this example, what we are going to do is change this reference that we have. We want to change this from what it is currently to what we want to be able to use is this notes that I have taken. The access key ID should come from there and go in this location, access key ID. That value should be replaced. This should be replaced by the access key ID. Similarly, go back to the notes and grab the secret access key, which is another longer character sequence. You grab that and then change this, which is the AWS secret access key ID, which is different from the access key ID. And that also needs to change. And remember, you need to change the region as well. In my example, as you know, I am using Amazon's. My plan is to use Northern California, which is not US West 2, but US West 1. In certain cases, if you use Virginia region, you want to make it US East 1. That's a change you need to remember to do. And this is how you basically tell Chef that you now can operate on the Amazon cloud in the selected region using the access key ID, using the secret access key. And I have provided the ability for you to operate on EC2 using my information and access IAM keys, the information and access management keys. This key pair, if you remember, which I did just a few minutes ago, this Chef server exercise with a permission to access and made that key EC2 capable people, a member of this group, which has the ability to operate on EC2. That's the permission it has, EC2 full access. That's what I just did. So back in our EC2 section, what we need to really do is provide those credentials to knifeRB file so that Chef can manage our EC2 cloud. Similarly, if you are dealing with DigitalOcean, you want to change this value. And by the way, Rackspace, I would suggest you not use it because they charge you $50. So I don't want that expenditure, unnecessary expenditure. They've changed some policies, and first time you start a machine, they just bump a charge on you $50. So Yeah, I don't, if you want to spend money, go ahead. But I would cut this. I would cut this. And so don't try Rackspace. I don't want you to waste money. I do have a login and I can show you if you want to see that, but that's not the point. So there's some methods in which they, you know, every time people in the program, they get hit with a $50 fee. And it's hard to negotiate with companies. They just hit you with a fee, and I don't want that fee to happen to you. So we are not using Rackspace. You can use other clouds. You know, so I'm ready to pay like 3 or 4 cents for an hourly usage, but a $50 upfront fee I don't want to spend. So I cut that. Having said, you can add this, change this later. You don't have to do it right away. But when you want to use DigitalOcean, you can just put your token right there. And for now, save it. And hey, Salam, can you mute? Thank you. So change this DigitalOcean token when you get to use DigitalOcean. But right now our focus is on Amazon Cloud. And so similarly, like, you know, these credentials you're putting in the KnifeRB file for your Amazon Cloud, like that, DigitalOcean token, and like that, every cloud provider will have their own way of having Chef to connect, integrate, and operate on that cloud. And there is a systematic method of finding out what to write here for that cloud. Almost every cloud will give you a plugin that works with Chef, and that will also provide you with a method of describing your credentials inside the knife configuration, KnifeRB. So here are 2 examples, and I will give you more. You can add more cloud providers like this, and you can have a systematic method of managing any cloud company using the same framework that we are dealing with right now. With these changes I made a change to the cookbook path and added my credentials here. And I did not change this, which is fine for now. I would like to now check my KnifeRB for accuracy. So it should look like my name showing up here and my key reference showing up there. Let's go check these things. Do I have it? My name showing up, my key reference showing up. Then my validation key. This seems to be missing in my download that I have. And so that is, I think, okay. You just leave it blank. This is a recent change in Chef. So this line and these 2 lines may not be visible to you. By the way, let me ask you, do you see that? In your case, do you see a validation client name, like the company organization validator, and a validation key with a organization-validator.pem? Do you see any of these 2 lines in your KnifeRB? I don't think so. I think they changed something. It is very likely that you will not have these 2 lines, which means I have to modify the lesson itself, which I will. But for right now, I noticed that these 2 lines are not available in our example that we downloaded from this location, which is probably going to be fine. It will not cause us any trouble. They just have modified certain things. So just don't get surprised when you're checking for accuracy and you don't find these 2 lines. Don't add them. There is no need to. Do not add. You will also notice that your Chef server URL will match your organization name that you have chosen. So in my example here, my Chef server URL here actually matches the organization name that I have chosen, which is Classroom. It does. My cookbook path I modified, my credentials I already put. Let's see, what else do we have? So access key, Rackspace, DigitalOcean, and there are more examples. We can always find more. But for right now, we're just using Amazon. So we'll go to the next one. Next step. We have what up until now done is just enabled this KnifeRB configuration. We still haven't added any plugin. The plugin becomes possible by going to a place where you want to operate knife tool with say Amazon Cloud, EC2, you search, and there is a plugin for that. It's called Knife EC2 plugin, and we'll use that plugin right now, by the way. And so in that plugin, Knife EC2, you will see that it installs like this, and gem install, or you can go do a gem file, and we'll do the gem file approach. But the configuration goes like this. That's what we just did. And the detail provided here is quite extensive, but we don't need to go into all that level of detail quite right away. Similarly, if you want to say operate with knife on DigitalOcean, you will find out that this person has provided a plugin. His name is Moritz, Roland Moritz. He's provided this knife DigitalOcean plugin, which plugs into the DigitalOcean cloud. And we need to get that plugin installed using gem install method. And then how do you use it? There are lots of instructions. One of them is the configuration, which is just add this one line with a token, and then you can use knife with DigitalOcean. That's what we did in this example here. We have that line number 19 that we actually did not change quite yet, but you can always get a token from this location and use that token right there. And then your knife configuration will work. You of course need to have that gem loaded. This gem, this package is a plugin which is available in form of a gem. So if you go to Ruby Gems, and in that site, you will have the knife DigitalOcean gem visible. You can see that this gem is available by the same person, as you know, Roland Moritz. He has provided that gem. The source code is available in that location. And how do you use it? You put this entry in the gem file. That's how you use it. And similarly, we have a knife EC2 gem also. And so the knife EC2 gem is available. You can get that in the gem file. Here's the source code for that. Lots of people use it. And we will use this gem momentarily. But in general, if you go to GitHub and go to Chef, and in that Chef organization, or rather just in GitHub, if you just say, show me github.com/chef, and in that organization, just search for, no, not here. So go in the mainstream, search for knife, and you will find lots of plugins. Knife Chef. And use a knife EC2 plugin, knife Solo plugin, knife OpenStack, knife Rackspace, knife vSphere, knife Windows, knife Linode, knife Server, knife Block, knife Zen Server, and goes on and on. The knife Google, knife Backup, knife Giant, knife DigitalOcean, knife Zero, knife Essentials, knife Git Cookbooks, knife Lastern, knife Container, Spice Visual, goes on. So bring knife Vagrant, knife Eucalyptus, knife Cloud, knife Push, knife Tarsnap, tons and tons of knife Terramark Cloud, knife, let's see, some more interesting. We will have knife vCloud, knife Docker. So almost every major company that worth their effort with using Chef has provided a gem, like here. This is the knife plugin for use with VMware vCloud. And so you can use that plugin, basically like provide your vCloud password, username, and host, and install this particular with bundle install, and you can then operate on VMware vCloud using Chef. So that's the core idea behind using these plugins. They're all available in Ruby Gems website. And you download them using a simple technique that we already know. You edit your gem file and then add the gem you need, like knife EC2 gem and knife DigitalOcean gem. You're just adding those gems in your gem file. So we are going to take this basically and put that in a gem file like this. In our folder, we don't have a gem file. So we'll create one and paste it and save it as gem file. And that's it. So now we have a gem file. The gem file sits right there. Now we need to bundle install. So we'll go here and run bundle. It will install those 3 gems we need. Those 3 gems are these 3. We'll get them installed in a moment, and you will find that it succeeds installing, and it should finish it. Oh, this will likely cause trouble. Native extensions basically means more memory, and our poor machine does not have enough memory allocated, which is going to fail. So since I know it's going to fail native extension building, I need to add more memory, ouch, and give you another VM, which I will do tonight. Okay, I think we need to do some other method of fixing this problem, because this native extensions, whenever are required to natively build something, it hits that upper bound of memory limits. So I should systematically upgrade the size of memory allocation of this virtual machine to something like 1500 MB RAM. But before that, before I change, I have to test it. Oh, it succeeded. Oh, good. Nice. So it should succeed for you as well, I hope. If it fails, tell me that it failed. It should not fail, because my memory currently is also very limited. I think my memory is limited to, let's see how much I have. My memory is limited to 1024 MB RAM. I'm deliberately running it just like you would. And I keep it small memory footprint, because not everybody has a large amount of memory. So I'm keeping it as small as everybody else is. With that understanding, the bundle finished. So now we have these 3 gems loaded. We have the 3 gems we wanted are now available to us, which is nice. Next step, we want to bundle, which we did. And then a log file appears that you can see here. This log file is, hold on, why is it not responding to me? Okay, it did. So this log file is available. Come on. No. Okay, log file, please respond. It doesn't want to. Interesting. Okay. The machine has gone really sluggish. Okay, I will reboot that machine. I think I need to add some RAM. That is very likely the case. It is not freeing up the RAM, and I'm going to restart that VM, and we'll come back to the same point in time. So the idea was that we had a new gem lock based on these 3 gems we wanted, a newer version of Chef, or rather 12.2.1. It's not really newest. It's a newer version than 12.03 that we were using before. And this version of EC2 plugin and this version of DigitalOcean plugin. So 2 plugins for us to operate on these 2 clouds, and we bundle and we have that updated. So we go to the next unit, and where we will make use of this setup, which is an important thing for you to do, is now is a good time to take a snapshot of this VM. And the reason I do that is because all the work that we have done up until now in that Chef repo folder that we have here, and in our Atom editor, you should see all those things also, is that it has lots of things that we will modify over time, and we'll keep using this in subsequent exercises. So I don't want to repeat the work that we have been doing. So it's a good idea to preserve the state of your virtual machine. How do you do that? You can take a snapshot of the VM. So in our VM, you can just close out whatever you have and take a machine snapshot. Click and call this. I am about to begin Chef server exercise. So before Chef server exercise starts. So so give it some descriptive name so that you will know what state are you preserving in the snapshot. So before Chef server exercise, that's a good way to actually name it. So you will know what it is, what that snapshot is about, and you can click OK. It will take an entire picture of the whole thing, whole machine, and save it for you. And now by doing that, you get the ability to make mess. So you can delete this file, for example. By accident, I deleted that file, and I'll say, ouch. And not only that, I empty my folder, and so it goes empty. And now I have lost that file, but I can always bring it back by basically restoring the snapshot. I can always go back to the VM software and have the machine restore my session, my snapshot from the previous time. So my virtual box that is running there, I need to bring it up front in foreground, which is what I'm doing right now, bringing it in the foreground. And here I see that this Cloud Genius virtual machine that I have, if I scroll to the other end, I have 2 snapshots, and one of them was 9 days ago, and this one is like 54 seconds ago. This is the golden snapshot, and this is the before Chef Server exercise snapshot. That's what I wanted. So I'll say right click on this snapshot and restore, and I don't want to have another snapshot, so I ignore that checkbox and say restore. And by doing that, I will have the machine come back to exactly how it was before I made mess. I made some mess. So I'll now start my machine. The machine will pop up back up just like it was and bring all the files, including my trash. My trash is back. You can see that my trash has come back. And you can also see that my Terraform file is also back, which I don't need right now, so I'm going to just move it to trash. And so that's how you can preserve the state of a machine if you like. Now, while restoring this machine, what has happened is my Wacom driver did not like what happened. So it has lost its configuration. I'm going to change my mapping to force proportions to the monitor number 1. So my pen works properly. And this is the bamboo pen that I have that you probably heard me talk about, Wacom. And now it should work properly. So let me move this away from you and focus on this screen here. And so what I intend to do is make sure I reboot one more time to have the Wacom settings picked up in the VM so that you can continue to operate just like we were doing before. Now, in our example that we are following along, we are taking this snapshot primarily to, like I call it, Chef is ready. And this snapshot basically helps us in getting to this point back in time anytime we feel like, because we will make mess as we go forward. We'll create a lot of mess, make mistakes. And we can always come back to this point in time very quickly by restoring the snapshot, because we just took one right now. You can just restore the snapshot and go back to this point in time. And that's what we wanted to do. And so next unit helps us proceed forward. So we have this machine back up and running. We'll go back to our same location, which we were, CD, Chef repo, and we are back in business. So Atom is open, terminal is open. Let's keep going. So here we have, the next thing we want to be able to do is check whether this knife tool actually works with the cloud provider. We can check that connection between our knife setup, this whole setup that we have created, and the Amazon cloud. As you know, we have provided credentials there, right? You know, we have given these credentials to Amazon in this location. So it means that we can have this Chef installation actually list out all the boxes that are running in Amazon EC2. Give me a list of EC2 servers, please. That's what it means. Bundle exec, knife EC2 server list. It means, hey, knife, go to EC2, get me a list of all the servers I have there. And so if you go to EC2 and find out that there are 0 running instances, which means you will get nothing because there is nothing in the list, which is exactly what I expect to see in the result. So bundle exec, knife EC2 will actually get me a blank list. So you call the instance ID, name, and public IP, private IP, this and that. But again, we did not receive any running instance because there is none. But the key thing to observe here is this command was able to go to the Amazon cloud and find out that there are none. It successfully connected and got us a nil result back, this command. Knife EC2 server list. We were able to connect to this cloud, to the Northern California region, in my example, and find out that it has 0 running instances. That's what we just did. We were able to do this because we had the credentials in place, like these lines number 13, 14, 15. It knows where to go, what to do, and it grabs that list of servers, which is a very good sign because now it knows that we can actually operate on the Amazon cloud. If you get into trouble like this, for example. This is one classic error you might run into. That basically shows authentication failure, meaning your keys are invalid. Your Amazon keys, lines number 13, 14 are invalid. That's what this error means. You're likely to get that error if you make a copy and paste mistake, which means you should fix that error and then take another snapshot and proceed. So that test to make sure that Chef infrastructure is able to operate on that particular cloud. You saw it working. Now you want to deal with this Chef server business, right? And so before I actually run these things, I want to describe what is going to happen a little bit. So up until now, what we have done is we went to this entity called Chef server. And this entity is available on this site called manage.chef.io. That's where we created a new account and we downloaded some zip file. We expanded it to create a chef-repo folder. That is our kitchen. This is the kitchen. That's where we are working on. That kitchen looks like this whole thing. And so that's the kitchen. That's what we obtained. That's our Chef server. Great. It's free. 5 nodes. 5 nodes under management. So that's the Chef server thing. Now, the idea between you have this cloud here, which is your AWS cloud. You have this DO cloud. And there are other cloud companies we don't worry about right now, but you are here on your workstation, on the Cloud Genius workstation that you have, and you have your kitchen sitting here. The kitchen is called chef-repo. That's the folder name we have been using because that's what this Chef server told us to use as that name. So the Chef server gave us this kitchen already. Now it might confuse some people. Since Chef server gave us that kitchen, why do we need to give this kitchen back to the Chef server? Why? But that's what we need to do. And that may be a little bit confusing. This Chef server is where we downloaded our kitchen, which is a starter kit. But we need to send our kitchen back to them for a specific reason. Is that we have actually changed it. We have modified this kitchen to include our keys, include the way we operate, and our own detail that we are doing in our kitchen. So these changes that we have done to our kitchen, this guy has no idea. Like it does not have a mind of its own. No, it doesn't have a mind of its own, so it doesn't know what we are doing. We are adding keys, our credentials, adding custom cookbooks, adding this and that. That's what this is what we will probably do. And we did add our credentials. So even though the starter kit was made available to us from the Chef server has no idea what we have in our kitchen really at this moment. So we need to send our modified, updated, modernized kitchen with keys and everything, keys and our cookbooks and custom cookbooks and community cookbooks and all that. All of that needs to go up back to the Chef server, without which Chef server has really no idea what to do when Chef client will run here. It will run on those boxes that you will create. It will run on the DO boxes that you will create. It will run here. The Chef client will run.
Second, okay.
Hey, Salam, you had a question? So this Chef client will run on your cloud or whichever cloud you have. It will run that Chef client. And this Chef client run basically gets whatever it wants from the Chef server. Whenever Chef client runs, it receives whatever it needs from the Chef server. So that the core idea behind using a Chef server box is to allow you to go on vacation. I'm just kidding. This is just a joke. But basically, it frees up your time to do whatever you want. You don't have to have your kitchen ready and all that, but you can do whatever you feel like. It basically separates you from the trouble of managing your kitchen locally. So you have your kitchen and your chef repo folder, and you just make sure that this chef repo is provided to the chef server. And then chef will run automatically, chef client will run automatically every so often in all of your clouds. And then when it runs, the chef client, it will pull down whatever it needs, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. There is no dependency on you. This you has been unleashed. You don't have to be there for this infrastructure to run by itself. This should run by itself. So you can free up. You're free to do whatever you want, including going on vacation. And that's the core idea. It basically frees up your time so that you don't have to worry about this thing and it manages itself. What you eventually occasionally do is you will go to the chef server and update. Okay, here is my new instruction. And so just follow that. Everybody listen to what I have. It's in the chef server. So just follow that. So everybody will then, when next time they run on their cloud, when the thing runs the next time in that particular cloud, when you have a new box or an existing box, so this is a new box, existing box will run chef here, they will pull down the new things in whichever cloud you are on. So this could be DigitalOcean, Azure Cloud, Google Cloud, whatever cloud you have. These cloud machines will automatically configure themselves based on what you have specified in your kitchen. You may keep modifying it over time and tell your chef server, I have this update. Please apply. So it will get applied to your entire cloud, all the clouds that you might have. And that's the scenario of usage. Essentially, it frees you up. You can go wherever you feel like, or do whatever you feel like. So it does not lock you up. In case of Solo, you are required to have this machine, and you will run Knife Solo update, or Knife Solo cook, or Knife Solo bootstrap, or Knife Solo prepare, and prepare these machines. But not in this server scenario. It's actually a nicer way of operating if you want to work like that. You can find out other ways of accomplishing serverless usage scenarios also. So essentially, our next step from a usage perspective, before we have these clouds manage themselves, is to prepare our chef server properly so that it knows what to tell when these clouds come across and they want to run your chef client for you. They will pull down whatever is needed to work on your Google Cloud, Azure Cloud, whatever cloud. These clouds need to know what you have in mind. What is on your mind, you need to write that down in the chef repo and then update your chef server. And then once you update, chef server will provide that detail to everybody, whoever asks for it. But you need to just update what you have in your mind. I want this to happen like that. I want Google Cloud to happen like this. You can basically call out in that cloud, in that machine, I would like to do it this way and like that. You can define a complete blueprint for whatever you want in your cloud setups according to what you desire, according to what you have in mind, according to what you design. And that's the scenario that we want to now do. So the first step towards that direction is to make sure that your chef server is up to date according to what you have in your mind. Essentially, what you have in your chef repo. That's what you put in your, whatever you have in your mind, you put in chef repo and then update. You basically send the kitchen over to here. That's where the kitchen goes. So you want to send that kitchen, and that's the next step. So we will get ready to send our kitchen from our machine to Chef server for this exact reason. That's what we want to do now, which is upload your kitchen to the Chef server, which means we want to begin it step by step. Again, it's pretty elaborate in the level of detailed commands that we have here. It's pretty extensive. And there are a variety of commands to operate on, but you don't need to remember these things because there is a cheat sheet for that. So here is a cheat sheet. And in this cheat sheet, I have basically noted down all the commands you typically use. And that's the cheat sheet. And it tells you most of the commands that you will actually run in using Chef. Most of them are written down here, but extensive documentation is available on the website, which is docs.chef.io. That website has a comprehensive documentation. This is just a cheat sheet here. So docs.chef.io is comprehensive. It's the complete documentation for the open source product called Chef. Okay, hold on. I think I made a mistake in typing. So I'm going to discard that. And send. So that docs.chef.io is the link that I just pasted. And this cheat sheet is actually useful. So go look at it. It's by the way, it's a cheat sheet. It is not a step-by-step. This particular page is just a cheat sheet. Going back, we want to actually upload our kitchen to the cookbook. So what does the kitchen contain? It contains all these things, right? The first thing we would like to have is to send the cookbooks there. Then we will send the roles. These are the two things we currently have. So we will do that. Send cookbooks. We have one cookbook there called starter and one role called starter. That's what we have currently. However, in my particular example, I have a ton of useless stuff here. So I want to go and delete all of that. So let me clean it up before I send my stuff. So I'll go and clean that Chef server. Because I've been using that Chef server for 5 years. So it's a lot of trash accumulates there. So I'm going to go quickly clean it up. And I will clean it up. You don't have to clean because your server is probably clean already. So I will clean it up like this. And I'm deleting all the cookbooks I have from the past exercises I did. And it is deleting all of that, just cleaning it up. So that's a delete command I'm running on my own Chef server. Basically deleting all these cookbooks that are there from previous exercises. And that cleanup exercise is important for me to run. You don't have to run it. I need to run because otherwise people will get confused as to what is that. And that I don't want. So I'm just doing a quick cleanup of all the cookbooks. This command you can see is actually bundle execute, knife, cookbook, bulk delete, all of them. I just deleted all the cookbooks. Similarly, I can do a knife rolls delete, I think it's roll delete. And or rather, let's see the list. The commands are actually very intuitive, very, very simple to understand. And so you can knife rolls delete base and delete the DB master role and delete the web server role. So there are a couple of roles that I want to delete there so that it cleans up nicely. And now we begin uploading. So first thing, bundle, execute, knife, cookbook, list. We list out all the cookbooks that you already have in the Chef server. So we have nothing. So it will give us nothing. That's it. Similarly, we'll find out what roles do we have in our cookbook. And we have no role definitions, so it gets us nothing. Similarly, we can have bundle, exec, knife, environment, list. it will give us a list of all the environments I have, which are these 4 environments. So I need to go and delete them because they are not necessary. And I will delete the other environment called prod. And I'll also delete the other environment called stage. That's how I'm cleaning up. And you can see these delete commands or cleanup commands in the cheat sheet. The commands themselves are intuitive. As you can see, it is simple English language representation, bundle exec knife, environment list. So it lists out all the environments, and I have only one environment, which is the default environment, which you cannot delete. It is available to you by default. Cannot delete that. It is just given to you. That's the default environment everybody gets if you don't specify any other environment. So everything runs in default to begin with, unless you specify a different environment. So now after having a good cleanup, we can now visually see what does that chef server show us. So we can go to that chef server, which is chef manage here. And in that chef manage, I will log in again. And you can visually see these things again also. Visually, this user interface will show you in policy. And you have some all cookbooks, which are basically, there are no items to display. So it's empty. Roles, you have no roles because I deleted them all. In environments, you have no environment except the default environment, which is expected. In data bags, I might have some data bags, so I want to delete them. I can delete it visually, basically like this, delete, and another one, click and delete. So I'm deleting those 2 data bags that I have from a previous attempt, repeating that, and basically creating a clean slate for me to operate on, just like you have to begin with. So now I have deleted my data bags, my roles are 0, cookbooks 0, environments only the default, and clients. This shows there is this Cloud Genius client and a Classroom Validator client. So 2 clients are available, which depends on what your name you may have chosen. So after having seen this, let us now go back to our terminal and make sure that we are sending our kitchen over. So the first thing I want to send is all these cookbooks that I have. These cookbooks are defined in this location in the cookbooks folder, and my cookbook path is very clear. It says go look in this folder first, and then here. So that's the sequence that we will follow, but currently our site cookbooks folder is empty here. It doesn't even exist. So you can create it. For now, I'll just create an empty folder called site cookbooks. And in that location, I made it wrong location. I should move it to this location. So now I have the site cookbooks folder in the correct location, and the cookbooks folder is empty. The cookbook folder has 1 cookbook, and site cookbooks does not have anything. With that understood, I will now upload my cookbooks. Uploading is very simple. Bundle exec, and then knife cookbook upload, followed by the name of the cookbook you want to send. And it will send the starter cookbook up. And it just did. I mean, it's still doing, and it finished. Now you can say, knife cookbook, list them all for me. So you should now see one name. That name is starter, version 1. So you see that this uploaded the starter cookbook, and now we can see the starter cookbook. Similarly, I want to upload my role called starter. So I will modify this command, and instead of cookbook upload, I will say role upload starter. But let me tell you that this is not how the command is. So this is not how it works. And this is how the open source product Chef has been designed, that this command is not intuitive for some reason. If this command will not work, the command to operate and send a role is slightly unintuitive. So it's knife role from file and then roles/starter. That's how you should write. And then it will take the role. It is slightly not intuitive, but unfortunately, that's how it is. I would expect that function to be like this, but it turns out that you have to write like this: knife role from file and then send that file over. That's also documented in the cheat sheet, as you will see it. So we have uploaded that role. And now we should see the role. So bundle exec environment list, like role list, should show us the role. And great, it does. Nice. So we have now somehow managed to tell our chef server what do we have in our chef repo. So I just gave it to them. We gave it a starter cookbook and also the starter role. These two things went up and we verified them that it did. You can also see it visually here and go to cookbooks and there's a starter cookbook. You go to roles and there is a starter role. It's visually also there in the browser. Next step, what we want to be able to do is we modified our roles, send the role there, cookbooks and all that good stuff. And next, what we want to be able to do is actually get a machine in the Amazon cloud. But this time, I don't want to go there directly and click the button to launch an instance. No, not like that. I'm not doing it like that. No. Instead, I will use the chef infrastructure to start a machine, which is basically, we will invoke knife commands in our workstation to have this cloud start a new machine, like out of the blue, out of thin air, like we do here. We can go launch a machine and click and launch and all that good stuff. But that is not what we are going to do this time. We are going to say, you know what, chef, you start a machine for me. And by the way, when you start that machine, prepare it and get ready to cook it. So prepare and cook should happen as soon as you start that new box. So make sure that this machine that you start get installed with chef and then run chef. So install chef, run chef on a new box and do that for me because I don't have time, right? I want that automated. I don't want to go to EC2 and click these buttons. No, I would like you to do it. So that's the scenario in which we need to write a command in a specific fashion. And that's what we're describing here. So the idea is to manage machines programmatically, provide you the ability to define, orchestrate what you want, and do all of that in code and automate it. That's the core idea, right? You don't want to go here and muck around with this method, or maybe go to this cloud and click the click the droplet and maybe destroy the droplet or create a droplet. All these things should be programmatic. We don't want to click the create droplet button and click the buttons here and select this and select that and select the Bangalore. Oh, they have a Bangalore region. Nice. Very nice. And so ID RSA and droplet. So you don't have to do these things, right? You don't want to do these things by mouse because imagine if you want to start 500 machines, you don't want to log on to this cloud and like click, click, click. Although you can say, you know what, give me some 100 machines there. And so it might actually let you create 10. It has a limit of 10 droplets for me, apparently. So you have 10 machines. I can just create them, click and create. And so that's the scenario for Bangalore. In other clouds, they might have a higher limit for me. Probably not. So, but that limitation, I think, depends on the cloud company, how much it actually lets you create. And you can ask for more if you like. But besides the point. The point is that you don't want to go to this browser interface and create machines because it's boring. I don't want to go there. I want to rather write code to start those machines and run them, install them with everything we need. And by the way, also run chef. Make it work. Make it work so that it not only starts a box like we have here, like a new box. So get a box, install chef, run it. And while you run it, Make sure you grab my cookbook and roll and just apply it there. And so it becomes whatever I want it to become and be happy about it. That's what I want. I don't want an empty box. No, what's the point? I want this box to be configured exactly the way I want it to be, which I have already told, by the way, Chef server, so I don't need to be there in the picture. All I need to do is somehow tell, hey, create a box, install Chef, run it, and apply whatever is your purpose in life. What is your purpose in life? Purpose in life of that box is to get this DNA fingerprint and apply it to yourself to become whatever I want you to become. And that is the outcome. So that's the purpose in life DNA that I want to apply. Don't want to just randomly start an empty box with nothing to do. That's not my idea of automation. I want to actually have something meaningful running there. And that meaning is what I define in my kitchen. I define what you will become when you grow up. And I tell this Chef server, hey, remember this, I'm now going away. And you will remember it. And you will tell that box when it comes online to not only install Chef and run Chef, but also configure itself the way I want. So now you have a ready-made solution. That's what we want to accomplish. And we will do that in this exercise right now. And so the command that we want to invoke is a little bit long, multi-line. You want to take this whole thing here and understand it first. So we'll take that multi-line command in my notes file, but I have these credentials. Below that, I'll paste and try to understand what this says and what exactly this is going to do for me. So step by step. Bundle exec, I know that already. The command here is knife EC2 server create. Basically tells knife to work with the EC2 plugin to go create a new server. So knife EC2 server create. Go to that EC2 cloud in the region I specify in my knife RB, which is US West 1. And in that region, use these credentials, connect, and use this ID RSA that I have in my computer. And the flag the name I chose is also ID underscore RSA, which matches what I have chosen in my Amazon console. By the way, you should remember this. This is critical. You have to actually be matching the ID RSA that you provided to the key pair. Name has to match ID underscore RSA. And that's the key pair I uploaded, imported. That has to match the name in your region, Northern California, ID RSA. It has to match this entry. That's the -S flag. This -S flag is basically using my security key, name, ID RSA. That's the one I want to use from this location. So remember, that name has to match this entry. And this private key is stored in this file, which you know already. That's where you store your private key in the computer. And I want to create an Ubuntu machine. So the login name or the username is Ubuntu. That's line number 14. Line 14 says, use the name Ubuntu as the person who logs in. That's the convention for Amazon machines running Ubuntu OS. But how do you specify which operating system you want to start? So we have this idea of clicking and launching an instance and then selecting the Ubuntu. We know what we are clicking, like this blue button we can click. But then how do we tell this command what do we want to actually invoke? So we need to grab this AMI ID from right there. This AMI ID is available here, right? That's the Ubuntu server AMI. You want to grab that AMI ID, copy it over. And for your region, Northern California or Virginia, whatever region you have, you want to bring this ID back in this location and delete the old one, put the new one. This has to match the region. It varies from region to region. This number will change. So you need to remember what operating system image you want to load on the box, like here. That number you can find from here. Next, we want to select the size of the box. I'm saying that we would choose the cheapo free version, T2 Micro. That's cheapo. It is free for new users. T2 Micro is free. Nice. Take it. So we'll take that size T2 Micro. And while doing that, by the way, I would like you, this box, to take on the role starter, right? That role I have defined here. Take on that role, please. That's my purpose in life, the DNA. You become whatever that starter cookbook says. By the way, that starter cookbook is like trivially simple cookbook. It does nothing except put one log entry. That's all it does. But at least we would like that entry to be visible to us when we run this command. So that is the command we want to be able to run. It is a multi-line command. Remember, when you copy and paste a multi-line command, the entries after a trailing. Sorry about that. Let me do not disturb it. And so this multi-line command you have here or here, you remember that you do not have a trailing space. So the word I'm saying is trailing space. There should not be anything after this line. I mean, it should be nothing after that line. You should make sure that you enter after that and clean up after every new line. If you don't want to do it this way, you can put all these commands in one long line. That is also okay. You don't have to have this way, like I'm describing. It is just easier to read it that way. That's why we have it like that. But the idea is you can run all these flags in one long line. That is also okay, like this. You don't have to have the slash. The slash basically lets you go to the next line without having to type all these things in one shot. So you can effectively construct a long command without those slashes, like I'm showing. I'm doing it right now. And so you can construct a longish command just like this by removing all the slashes and bringing everything in one long line like this. So that is one line called line number 11, which I have basically created out of that multi-line command, which I saw in the example here. And I modified the image number by going to the console and choosing the AMI to be Ubuntu. In my example, for my region, the number will change from region to region. If you are in Northern California, then that is the number right now. It also changes over time, by the way. And so as Ubuntu updates their images, this AMI ID is how you can find. By the way, there is another way of finding this AMI ID, and that is a nice little website called Ubuntu AMI Finder. And this is beautiful. And I'll tell you why it is beautiful. So this link I'm pasting in Slack chat coming up is actually pretty darn beautiful because it helps you locate AMI ID for any region whatsoever. So let's begin. So this is a long list of all the IDs, but you don't want to get confused by that. So we'll go all the way to the bottom, like all the way to the bottom here, and then start narrowing down. We would like to say that I want to say stick to US West 1. So that's Northern California. So we narrow it down. Great. Now I want to say Ubuntu 14.04, which is also known as Trusty, which is here. So I'll say Trusty. And so it narrows down to only these choices. The version numbers are 14.04, which is what we want. And I would like to get a 64-bit image, so I'll select AMD 64, which further narrows it down. And then I have these choices. The choices are HVM based, hardware virtual machine based, and there are four other choices are elastic block storage choices, and one more choice called instant store. Now, these choices are older technology. I would like to take the HVM technology, which is hardware virtual machine technology. And with that understanding, I would like to narrow it down to only the HVM types. So these two or these two. That's what I would like to select. Now, among the HVM choices, we have the four on top. The fourth one is instant store. So it is not a persistent hard disk, persistent SSD, which means I don't want that either in certain cases. So I would like to focus on the top three choices. Now, what are the top three choices? The very first one is actually a magnetic hard disk. You don't want that either. The second one is IO optimized SSD, which is a little bit expensive SSD. You may not want that, or you may want it depending on what your use case is. It's a little bit expensive, but it is a faster performing SSD. And the third choice is EBS SSD, which is probably the mainstream choice you want to get. So this is the AMI ID that I want to actually use for my trusty operating system for US West 1. And so the ID number is this. So I will take that number, 99, whatever I have, and compare with what I have chosen. Slightly different here, but that is okay. Both of them will work. This is updated on June 27th. So like yesterday or day before. Yeah, 2 days ago it was updated. Amazon is still running a little bit older version, which is fine. They're providing a little bit older version, which is totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. So you can, in practice, either use this AMI ID or go to the AMI Finder and use this newer AMI ID, which you now have. You can replace either this one or use this one. Your choice. I will go with the latest. So we now have that AMI ID defined. The username goes like this. The size gets defined here. The key, private key reference goes like this. The key used in Amazon has a name. It has to match this name. If the name does not match, it will not work. And so the scenario that you're looking at in our EC2 section, you have to do a couple more things, by the way. When you run this command in launch an instance, it will automatically go to your default VPC, by the way, which means if you configure the instance, it will go to the default VPC, the one that I do not like to use. That is likely to happen. In fact, that is what will happen, by the way, which means I need to take care of one more issue before I run that command. And I would like to call that out very clearly because it might confuse some people. Early on, I created in the Cloud Genius VPC a new security group. Like you remember, I did that about half an hour ago. I went here in Amazon EC2, and in there, I created a new security group, and I called it Chef Server Exercise. And I decided to create this security group in the Cloud Genius VPC. But this command by default goes to the default VPC. It does not go to the Cloud Genius VPC because we are not asking for it to go there yet, which will unnecessarily make the command a little more complex. You can actually ask this command to go to a particular targeted VPC, use a particular subnet, and then create that VPC, create that machine inside that subnet. You can do all these things, but for right now, adding all those things will unnecessarily complicate stuff. I don't want to. So what I'm suggesting is that in this example that I have created this Chef Server Exercise, and I created that in the Cloud Genius VPC, but I want to delete it because I actually intended to create this in the default VPC, which I typically do not use, but I will want to use the default VPC today in this time. So my default VPC security group that I have, how many VPCs do I currently have? Let's go check. VPC I have 2 VPCs. The one is Cloud Genius, so which I can delete to reduce that confusion. And then I will cut down on the number of security groups that I have. And I actually want to open up those port number 22, 80, and 443 on the default security group itself, because that default security group is what gets picked up. And so I am actually doing another cleanup step. This might confuse some people because I created this first security group by mistake in the custom VPC that I had. But now I actually want to relabel it. I want to use this. So I just renamed it to call out that this is the VPC I want, because it is the one given to me by default. That is what gets picked up by this long command, which is not really very long. It can go really, really long if you add all the capabilities of VPCs and subnet mask, IP address allocations, and all the capabilities. You will see them. We'll do those exercises later on. But for right now, I'm just keeping this medium-sized command, not making it really long. By keeping it like this, it will automatically pick up the default VPC, which is what I have here, which I now want to use. Corresponding to this VPC, we have our security groups, which are, one is a classic security group that you probably don't have at all. In this is for people with accounts older, like 5 years or 7 years ago. So that is available in classic mode. You probably do not have this entry. The only entry you probably very likely to have is the default entry for your VPC, which is also a default VPC. And in that entry, I would like you to actually edit the inbound rules. So edit inbound rules to allow for SSH traffic from any location. And then save. Similarly, I would like you to edit the inbound rules to allow for HTTP traffic, which is here. Oh, not this. HTTP traffic. And allow from any location. And add another rule, HTTPS traffic. And from any other location, any location on the internet. And then that's how you would save those inbound rules. You will also go and cross-verify the same detail by going to the EC2 section. Look at the security groups choices available to you. You should not have the default choice at all. Sorry, you should not have the classic default. This will not be available to you at all. This you will not see very likely unless you have a 7-year-old Amazon account. But this is the one that you should see, that the inbound rules are allowed for port number 22 access from any location, port number 80 access from any location, and 443 from any location. That is a critical thing that you should modify in your default security group. You probably do not have this, so you do not have this. Okay. So with that understood, and the actual default security group for the default VPC is open, with that understanding, we should now run this command. This command will create a server using this public key, this private key, the username Ubuntu, this machine image, T2 micro size, and setup chef. So chef will set up here. It will also run chef. And when it runs chef, it will connect back to the chef server and request the cookbooks, request the roles, and apply the starter role. And then finish the exercise. That's what I am expecting to see when I run this command. So I'm going to copy it from the notes and take it to the terminal and run it like this. Multi-line commands can be written in one line if you like, but it is difficult for people to read the detail behind. Unless you write it like this, it's easier to comprehend. So now I will run that long command in my terminal like this and hit enter. And so this is the private key. As you know, we have it in the right location. This is the public key. This is the username, the machine image updated from Ubuntu 2 days ago, T2 micro size. And when everything is set up, the machine starts, you will have Chef installed. It will then, after installation, run Chef. That Chef run will go back to Chef server, grab the cookbooks down, and you will have Chef run. Chef run will download the cookbooks on that new box. So first thing, get a box, run, install Chef, run Chef, and when Chef runs, go to the Chef server, download whatever you need, get the kitchen, and then do whatever is told to you. And your role, your purpose in life is starter role. That's the purpose in your life. So become that. That's what you should see when I invoke this command, which I am going to do now. And off it goes. Run. So I have entered it. And you will see that it created a new instance with this ID number. The size is T2 micro. The machine image is this. The region selected, US West 1. The security group is chosen default. The key used is IDRSA. And let us see what's going on in the Amazon cloud. So we'll go to Amazon cloud. In the dashboard in Northern California, you should see one running instance right there. And this running instance has the same identifier like we see 9093. Let us compare this 9093 with what we have here. It is the same identifier 9093. It has waiting for the EC2 instance to create. So that instance has a public IP address. It has a DNS name. Let us also compare these IP addresses and DNS names and an internal private IP address. It will be 0185, 54, 183, 0185. Let us compare that here. On the machine, we have a public IP address, 54, 180, 0185, and the public DNS name. You will also see that this machine is waiting for the SSH daemon to become available, which means it is actually actively polling for the security group, which is the default security group, which we can see that it is open for access from any location, which is goodness. So we can go back to our machine and watch what it is doing. It is probably starting up, initializing right now, which means that we have to wait for it to do whatever it's done. And then using this key pair name, IDRSA, and the corresponding private key that we have in our location here, it will establish an SSH connection. And so it did. Now it is creating a new client for the machine in Chef server. And it created a new node for the machine in Chef server. It then connected to the EC2 box. It is installing Chef client. And then it is doing that installation right now. Once the installation finishes, you will see that it starts to run Chef. When the Chef runs, you will see that it goes to your Chef server. So we have the machine created, installation is happening. When this finishes, the run will activate. You can see that it happened. The run happened. And hold on, role starter. Yeah, so it actually succeeded. We can see that the log entry, welcome to Chef Nilesh, it happened successfully. That was the whole purpose in life. So let us scroll back a little bit, and you can see that Chef installed, that installing Chef finished. Then it says, thank you for installing Chef. Then it says, starting first Chef client run. And then it goes to resolve your cookbooks. And the cookbooks get downloaded from the Chef server. The run list is starter, which gets the cookbooks down from the Chef server right there. Then installing the cookbook gems, compiling those cookbooks. Then it runs that recipe. The recipe basically has one line entry for log, which is welcome to Chef Nilesh. And that's it. And so that's what it was supposed to do. That was the purpose in life, and it has succeeded its purpose in life. and it gives us this response back: the machine ID, the flavor, the image name, the region name, the availability, the security group name, security group ID, the tag name, SSH key ID, elastic block storage, volume ID, device location name, device delete on termination is true, DNS name, IP address, internal private name, private IP address, environment was default, and the role was starter. And it finished. So it did exactly all of these things like we said. And now we have a programmatic way to create a machine, not just a blank empty machine, but exactly what we want, and be happy about it. And by the way, we are not in the picture when this thing is happening. We just invoke, get me a machine, get a new box. And it did. It just did. So having done this, I'll take a pause and ask you questions, because we would like to, go deeper into this, into what we just did, and make it arbitrarily create whatever we want for our infrastructure, whatever applications, whatever services we want. We just ran this one log entry, and you can see that this log entry actually comes down from the starter role, which is, the name is starter. Description is an example chef role. The description run list is to run the default recipe in the starter cookbook. Default recipe in the starter cookbook. And by the way, override attribute, the starter name is my name. And now let us go read the default recipe in the starter cookbook like this. We'll go read the recipe, the default recipe. It says, make a log entry, and let's say, welcome to chef, comma, and some Ruby representation of the node attribute starter underscore name. And log level is set as info. And so this node starter underscore name is an attribute defined in the attributes folder. In here, in the default attributes, the starter name by default is Sam Doe. Sam Doe. That's the name they chose. That's by default. But this override role actually overrides the attribute starter name and does not make it Nilesh L. So it does not keep it Sam Doe, but makes it Nilesh L. So I will now make it full name, save it in my role. I just modified my role a little bit. I just did that. But my chef server does not know that I modified my role. So what do I need to do? Anybody?
Just bundle exit knife bootstrap.
Knife role from file.
From file roles and starter.rp.
Yeah, so it will send the new updated starter role up to the chef server, right?
Correct, yeah.
Good. Now, what we want to do is somehow invoke that chef run again on this box that we have, on the box that is currently running, we know that this one, this IP address, there's a box. And so we have to somehow manage to invoke another chef run. So we can do it multiple ways. One simple way is to just go to the box and like this, connect to the box, and then run chef.
Chef line.
Yeah, just run it. And so what will happen is it will go to the chef server and find out what that new role definition is. So it synchronizes the cookbooks, gets the cookbooks and the roles, and this time it says Nilesh Lode.
So is this okay to connect by use SSH?
No, it is not. No, it is not. So I keep telling you that, don't fuck around with the boxes directly, but I keep going there, right? I keep going there for simplicity. So yes, you have a valid question. For simplicity, I just go connect to the box directly, but in real life, you will want to run chef
correct
automatically. And we don't have that automation quite yet. So we will run this command by cron. You know, cron tab? Cron job. Yeah. So you run the command by cron job and it runs automatically. So it will automatically update by itself and run it every so often. That's the scenario. In our case, we do not have a cron job. So we have to run it manually. So I will come out of there back by now and look at my Atom editor in my starter role. And here I will say, instead of Nilesh, I will say Tosin and save and close. And then send my role up to the Chef server. And now when Chef will run by itself automatically next time, like I'm going to cheat now, but this is how it runs automatically next time. And you will see that it will say, welcome to Chef Tosin. Right? This was a simulation of automation. This is not really automatic. I typed it by hand, but you're getting the point. The point is I update my role and tell it to the Chef server. And then Chef comes along and runs by itself and picks it up. And does
that role commands is supposed to run whole things. Why it stopped?
Did not understand your question.
There's a bundle exit knife role from file role. That
yes,
syntax should run.
It did.
It did. Okay. So, but why you want to start by using SSH then?
Because Chef client has to run by itself.
Okay.
See, let me show you. So what I'm doing is, in our example, this is me. And I'm updating my role. My role is right.
Right.
This new role has to be given to the Chef server. So I did.
Yeah, by using role. Okay, got it there.
This is a knife role from file. That command. It pushes.
So he sent to the Chef server.
Correct.
Server. Yeah.
And then I go away. Then I go home. Right. I do my work. Go home. Now, in here, in the Amazon cloud, on all these boxes that I have, I will program it so that Chef client will run by itself automatically every so often, like 30 minutes. Typically, that's what most companies I know do that way. They'll run it every so often by itself in a cron job. And that is what I'm simulating right now by manually going here and running this Chef client without invoking a cron job.
Okay, gotcha. So you just SSH to connect the AWS and then
correct. That extra step is needed because I don't have a cron job yet.
Yeah.
Right. So this has to run somehow by itself, but it is not going to be magically running sudo Chef client by itself. It will not magically run it. So you have to go there, like
connect.
Connect it. Okay. Simulation of repetition. It's a simulation of cron. You can run a cron job and then you have to wait for it. Instead, I would just invoke it myself, like this, and then come out and then clean it up and then do modifications again. Like here, this time I'll modify my role, close in, leave it like that. But instead, I will do another way of some little change. In here, I have my cookbooks, as you know, my roles, as you know, and you will notice that I have a node now. The node is this one. You see that? The new node we just created in Amazon Cloud with the IP address, internal IP address and all that. And it's in the default environment. And so what I want to be able to do is, for that particular node, I will look at my node has these attributes and these permissions and all that, right? So the starter name attribute showing us Tosin. And if you go look at the details and the run list, if I expand the run list, it has the run list that says the role is starter. So I will modify this now. And instead of running the starter role, which I will move it away, but I will run the starter recipe instead. You see that change I just made? So instead of running the starter role, which it was before like that, I'm going to cancel it again, do it again. So watch it again. So run list, expand, edit. And here my current run list says, my current run list, where is that? My current run list says, in the notes, my run list says starter role. Correct?
Right.
Now I will go back here, and that is what you see. This is the starter role. So you can take this role and put it back available roles. And my current run list, I want to modify and take this name from a recipe, the default recipe in the starter cookbook, drop it in the run list and save. So I modified something. Now I will go again here, SSH and sudo chef client. And what do you see now? Samdo. Why? Because this time the run list is run the cookbook starter default recipe.
Okay.
There is no starter role involved. So the starter cookbook is running directly. So you see Samdo. Right?
Got it. Instead of doing the SSH to connect with Amazon EC2, if you run the chef client, it's not going to work, right?
It works. Yeah, it does. Like here, I'm running chef client on the box. I'm connecting to that box and then running sudo chef client. And then I come out, log out. If I run it here, nothing will happen. This is not the place to run that chef client. Doesn't run on my box. That's my laptop.
That's your laptop. That's your workstation.
Yeah, that's the workstation. You don't want to run it here. No. That was only for the very first exercise we did. Like very first one, we ran chef client directly on.
It has to run on the chef server.
No, it has to run on these boxes.
Oh, that's why you need to connect it. Oh, I got it. Okay, I got you now. Okay. So it's not that chef client is not going to be run in workstation or chef server neither.
Correct. It runs in the cloud.
It's in the cloud. Okay.
So this chef client will run here. And it runs every so often automatically.
Could you show us, Nilesh, how you do the cron job, how you program it?
How you program cron job is like this. There we go. So it's very easy. Click. And it's one line literally. And there is a way to write this. You have to run this cron tab -e and then minute, hour, day of the month, day of the week, and then command. The command in our case would be sudo chef client.
Chef client.
That's what you will type in.
Yeah. Could you paste this in the?
Yeah. I will.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Thanks. I have one questions.
Yes.
Like, I know you set up PVC default, right?
Sorry, say that again.
The virtual private cloud, you set up all the default.
Correct.
Like subnet.
Yes.
Default, right? Okay. So in case if you want to do the NAT setting, so what do we have to do?
Okay. That exercise is coming. So we have a future exercise that we will do that. So we will have an increasing level of complexity coming along, as you will see. This was, simple. We just chose the default VPC. And in there, we chose the default VPC based VPC default security group. So the security group was also default. So all of the things that we could choose by default, we just chose the default values to simplify our life. But in real life, it is not simple. In real life, you will have, so in this example, we just finished this, but if you proceed forward, you will see more. So you have the cheat sheet going, and let me just jump to a complex example to illustrate. Somewhere here should be the way to. If I'll come up with that example. There should be a GitHub gist that I might have that I will pull up and hold on. And so let me go to that gist and see if we have those gists, see all your gists. So there should be a gist available somewhere here.
Gist about PPC?
Yeah. So you see them somewhere along the way, you will find it. Let me identify that. I'll paste a link for you. It's quite elaborate command, but it's available right here. Yeah, I see them. So bundle exec, all that. So you can see this command will show you that example. So don't run it right away, but this is just an example of how you would do in the case of a gist that you're looking at. So you can see here I'm defining flavor, image, availability zone, user, port number, subnet ID, security group ID, node name, SSH key ID, key file, tag name, identify the run list, environment called out, gateway called out, connection attribute, get me a private IP address, go through this jump box. Not NAT, but going through jump box. So that's a SSH gateway, is a jump box. So use that gateway, connect connect the attribute, and when you create that internal box, which is this is going to create, get me a private IP address. Don't give me a public IP. I want to be in a private subnet, so that subnet ID is private.
Okay.
That's what's going on. So you
have to tell everything.
You have to basically make it so complex that nobody will understand the first time you're doing it. That's why I choose a simple example to begin with. We will go detail. We'll go as complex as you can digest. And so this doesn't stop. By the way, this is not complete. There are more. And by the way, you can read all of that in the Knife EC2 gem documentation. Read that. And here, the whole documentation will tell you what can you do. And it is for Windows, for Linux, and all the commands are, if you...
That's CloudFormation will...
No, not CloudFormation.
This is, okay. No, this
is the Knife EC2 gem.
Knife
EC2 gem. That's what we are looking at. So if you go read the source code itself, you will find a little bit detailed about exactly how the Chef gem works, the Knife EC2 gem works. So you can see them. What does Knife EC2 create do? The Ruby source code, and here you can read all the things actually right there. It's fairly long. In fact, you can see that it's how many lines? Like 1,300 lines. But in there, you will find every different option that you can choose to select. And you can identify VPC, subnet mask, this, that, tunnel, SSH gateway. Everything is written down. Sometimes you have to go read the source code because the documentation may be missing. But most of the time, people are very good in terms of writing down exactly what they want to use. The documentation is generally very nice. So you can see the source.
So they are like giving like, format. So that way you can... change the way you want to launch.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that was just one example. There are more examples from other clouds available in GitHub somewhere. So here is a DigitalOcean example, and we have tons and tons of information. But I don't want to confuse it.
GitHub gist. Okay.
Yeah, that is my gist, by the way, on GitHub. So you have to go look for me and then look at my gist. You will find them.
Oh, could he paste that link?
I did.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
So HTTP, and then find all my gists here on gist.github.com, and then my name. That's where you will find all my gists. And I keep adding occasionally. I'll write something. But those gists can be confusing, right? It is not...
I know this is like expert level, but eventually you need to go in that level. Otherwise,
yes, correct. You will get there. You need to just very carefully listen and do these things. The reason I chose it simple and default, because I don't want to confuse everybody to begin with. Yes, you want to confuse yourself and then understand, learn, and clarify and get to a point where we can deal with complexity, but we'll get there. We will do complex stuff, but don't jump to it. Don't begin with complexity.
Sure.
build it slowly. So we have seen, Sam Doe, we saw Tosin, we saw Nilesh Lone, Nilesh L, and all these modifications because we are basically modifying the cookbook. So in the same example, continuing along, on the same starter role, which I don't want anymore, I would like to actually build something else. For example, let's say that I would like to make a Nginx server out of it. So what would I do? So I have this gem file. What I don't have is a Burks file. So I'll create a new file, call it Burks file. And then I'm done with the starter business. It's boring, right? Delete that starter. And so go away. Starter, you go away. Starter role, you also go away. I don't need you. It was very basic. But this Burks file will help us get new cookbooks, right? And so I want to get them. I want to make use of them. How do I do that? We'll go look at this example from before and see how do you write a Burks file example. So go somewhere here and here.
So we're going to go find the gem first.
No, cookbook.
Or cookbook.
Right. So cookbooks we know are available in, this is how you get a cookbook, right?
Yeah.
So you go here and post and save. Oh, sorry. That's how you will save to get a cookbook you want from the Burks Shelf gem. So that's the Burks file ready. But in our gem file, we don't have Burks Shelf gem. So we have to get that gem also. So we have to get the Burks Shelf gem loaded, which is a previous step to this. So we'll go grab that gem first for the Burks Shelf gem and then get the cookbook in the Burks Shelf. So here are the books that we wanted. Here are the gems we wanted. So the additional gems we have are these. This line is a repeat. Knife Soro we don't want. We want Chef 12, not this. So gem Burks Shelf, we'll bring it on. That's the gem I want. Save it, close it, and then bundle update. So I want to update my gem bundle. So I'll say bundle update. It will update the gem package, install this new gem that I wanted, which is this one, which is basically Burks Shelf. So we will have the Burks Shelf gem. Okay, this you will run into because it has cross dependencies. So we will have to clean that up. You have to running bundle update, will rebuild your scratch. So you have to run a bundle update, not just bundle. Let's see if it works. Bundle update, and it will resolve any cross dependency issues. If they still persist, we have to edit some version numbers here. And I think we succeeded in installing the Burks Shelf gem. So now we have all these 4 gems. So we can actually run Burks install now, which is what I will do. So I will go clean it. By the way, what I'm doing right now is not on the website. It is not available on the Cloud Genius website at all. I'm just doing it off the cuff as we discuss. So you will not find it documented there, only in this video. And now what we need to do is Burks install. And what this will do is get those cookbooks we want, which is basically Nginx, right? That's the only cookbook we wanted. So Nginx cookbook requires these other dependencies. So we have this Nginx cookbook, and it brings down other sisters and brothers. So they all come together. And they are available to us. Now we can make use of that Burks file, and this cookbook is available to us. So we can just assume that this cookbook will just automatically appear in the cookbooks folder when you need it. It is not there right now. But when we need it, we will have it. Now we will modify our role definition, or instead just go to that Chef server and send our cookbooks over there, right? So we have these new cookbooks. We want to say bundle exec knife cookbook upload. I think the command I'm forgetting. So let me go see the cheat sheet. I think it is -- all. Where is the cheat sheet? Click.
Yeah, -- all. Yeah.
It is -- all, but I'm not sure. So I will go find out how do you go upload all the cookbooks. So upload all cookbooks are like this, dash dash all. So we will run that right here, and it will upload all the cookbooks. And it could not find the cookbooks in this current path, which means we need to give the path.
Hi, Nilesh.
Uh-huh.
You have to show up the side cookbook. Currently, you have side book in the front.
No. Our cookbooks are not stored here. It is not stored here either. So it doesn't know where to get it from. The cookbooks are actually stored in a default location. As you know, it stores in this location. That's where the cookbooks are. Right? So you have to give this path to chef in the command. You have to give this path in the command for you to be able to upload. So we will give that path like this. And then it will go. So it is uploading all these cookbooks now because it is able to locate them. And so this is how you added the path, which is where the cookbooks are sitting away in a hidden location. And so it is sending those cookbooks, and we ran into an error retrying. So I'm sending all the cookbooks. It is running into an error that occasionally happens when you try to upload a cookbook. Sometimes the chef server that we are dealing with is not responding, so it is retrying in 4 seconds. And sometimes this happens. You run into that error. And so that if that happens, if a retry happens, you have to break it and send it again. The way I'm sending these cookbooks right now is this command that I want to copy over so that you have a reference in your notebook if you like. I'm going to copy that over. And it succeeded. In a retry, it succeeded sending all the cookbooks. Uploaded all the cookbooks, it says so, which means we have all the new cookbooks up there with the chef server, which means we should go here, look at our cookbooks collection and refresh the browser. We should see all these cookbooks showing up, and we do. Nice. All these cookbooks show up. Now, what we want to be able to do is go to the node that we are dealing with, this one, and in that node, let us modify the run list, right? Our run list that we have currently says starter. And so this starter run list, I don't want it anymore, so I'll just put it back where it came from. And instead, I want to run the Nginx recipe, the default recipe for Nginx. So the default one, I don't see it. Huh. I don't see Nginx defaults recipe, which is strange. So what do we do now? If we don't see it in this listing in visual, what would we do is to create a role in our roles folder here and create a new role. And you know how to create a role definition. You want to go to your previous examples and find out how we write a role. So in our chef solo mode, you say you define a role. So here how you define. And so role definition is done something like this, right? So you take that example, bring it over to here and say, I want to get a new role for me. And I'll call this my web role. So that's the name. I'll save it in the roles folder and call it my web role and web.json and save. And in that, I'll make some modifications, such as I don't want these things. Actually, this is correct. This is actually correct. So we want to run the Nginx recipe. That's my run list. And in my actual recipe that I would like to have run, I will actually pick up the role definition. Now, this role is available to me in the local machine in the kitchen. I want to send this role over to the chef server, which is basically bundle exec knife role from file roles web. And it goes up to the cloud in chef server. Let's see if we find that role now in the edit section. And we see the web role available. We just add it and run it. Save the run list. So we now have modified the run list with a web role that we uploaded. The roles showed up here in policy. You can see that the roles, we now have two, a starter role and a web role. In our web role, if you go expand, you can see that the web role actually says Nginx. You can edit the role itself if you like. And that's the attributes. You can see that it has some listen port attributes defined, ATN 443. And that's the role I want to be able to run with that box. So I'm modifying the nodes, this node's run list to say that you become a web server and save it. Then I will go connect to that machine. And before I actually invoke Chef client, I would like to test whether it runs Nginx already, which it doesn't. So we'll say -ef Nginx. Do we have Nginx there? No. Good. Now let us run sudo chef client. And this will now look up the chef server and it resolves the Nginx. So it gets the cookbook for Nginx and all the associated cookbooks that are needed. It is pulling them down from the chef server. We are on the Amazon machine right now, and it is running chef there. It knows that the run list is now Nginx, so it is pulling them down, all these things that are needed, and running Nginx right now, as you can see. And when this thing finishes, you will have an Nginx box. Right? So you're basically modifying your cookbook here, and it finished, by the way. It succeeded finishing, and you have the Nginx server loaded, which means you should be able to quickly check for Nginx running, and you can see the Nginx is actually running. And you can go back to this machine, open up the IP address there. No, not this. Open up the IP address in a web browser, and you should see a 404 page, right? So let's go find out. The IP address is this. So I'm going to copy it, open the IP address in a web browser, and you should see 404. Nginx. The same thing like we did the other day. This time we are doing through Chef server. And we are basically orchestrating whatever we want using our kitchen that we define. We come up with an idea, we modify our kitchen, we send it to the Chef server, and then on our cloud, basically our ideas go here. Our ideas go in form of that kitchen, which is currently called chef-repo folder. And we upload whatever we want, we send it to this guy, and so he has it. And then we can just go away because we don't need to be here. And so we just disappear from the picture. And in this cloud called Amazon Web Services, we have that box running, and it will automatically run Chef every so often. And when it does, now it has a new role in life, not the starter role anymore, but your new role is Nginx. So it does. Bingo.
Yep. Bingo.
Right? So it can do it. So it just took on a new role in life. Not the starter role, but Nginx role. And Chef came along, ran by itself, and you have a new function in life, new purpose in life. That's your new purpose. And that's this cloud. You can just deal with any cloud whatsoever. It's immaterial, actually, if you think about it. You know, just any cloud you feel like, there is a plugin for that. And you will operate just like that. They will all operate exactly identically. It's immaterial what cloud you use.
Right.
And
hey, Nilesh,
yeah.
In knife.rb, in that file, there is no access key, and you see the two items was missing, like Amazon access key and key ID. So that is not present in knife.rb file, right?
I do have it there. Yeah.
Okay, this is you have it. Okay,
I have it. It was changed this to begin with. We had this thing called it was like change this. It was like this before.
Oh yeah. Okay, I thought it's using somewhere else. Okay, I got it.
There, it's right there.
It's
We
right
modified it to be aware of that, right? So at the beginning of our session today, we had this idea of creating a MySQL server, right? And so we did that. We did that exercise also right here in our box. And what we did was, let's see, what did we do? We did this exercise, this one, where we created that server machine with a MySQL server. So we use this line in our box file, and then we use these attributes in our node definition, and we were able to run that recipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can potentially run this as an example, modify, incorporate that into our kitchen here, and invoke it, right? You could do the same thing on this box and convert that box that we have running there, this box, this one, make it a database server. Make it whatever the heck you want. I mean, it's whatever the heck you want, because that's what it allows you. So you are here on your laptop, you're running your Cloud Genius workstation, you come up with an idea, and that new idea that you have, you just implement that idea here, you update your kitchen, and you send the kitchen over to Chef server. And then you go away. Then you basically go home, go party, do whatever you want. And these guys will just automatically happen, take on the new function in life, new purpose in life, and your boss is happy. Your customers are happy because they are actually getting service from all the things that you're running here. And so everybody's happy and you are enjoying vacation. That's the idea, right? It's about accomplishing a purpose for the business to make the customer happy, the boss happy, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So this was fairly elaborate. I mean, yes, it was. And I would like you to do this. And the more you wait, the more you wait. let me caution you. The more you wait to do these exercises, the more complex it becomes. So I don't want you to wait.
It's not a matter of time.
Right. My goal is to have you guys run this number 8 exercise completely. If in this whole Cloud DevOps module, if you do one exercise actually completely, it is that exercise. That's what you really, really want to do. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that module number 8 is fairly elaborate, fairly complex. But if you do one exercise, I know some of you are really busy. If you do one exercise, that's the one you should do. And we will do it next time. Today we have finished this module number 7. And you are welcome to read ahead, but I will walk you through this module number 8 next time and make sure that we are doing, by the way, the knife configuration and your cookbook list is going to become long. It's a lot of cookbooks. Your gem file is also become very long. And so here is a gem file, which I don't know how many entries it has. I think 82 entries or so. So it's a long list of gems we are collecting. So I just want to show you that is something that it's a long, really long. Okay, come on, keep going. Really long list of gems that I'm grabbing because that is what is needed to make it work. So what I'm going to do a little bit ahead of time is that in our gem file, I will remove everything that I have and paste this long, really long gem file and save. I will also delete a little bit of the lock file, and then I will bundle install and make sure that the bundle works. If the bundle install fails, then I have to create a new virtual machine, and that is what I am preparing for myself. If I find that if this thing works, it worked. So no need to update the virtual machine. That is nice. So the whole 130 gems got installed correctly, no problem. That is exactly what I wanted to check. So we will actually follow along this exercise the next time we meet. But before that, we still have a day or two in between. We meet again when do we meet? 29th is what today is. Wednesday. We meet Friday. And so there is not enough time for you to actually try out this module number 7. But ideally, please do it. Please do it. It helps. It helps you to actually orchestrate a complete scenario. It's not a complete application, it's just a scenario that we just did. We were able to modify the starter role, get an Nginx run and all that. So play with it, get a feel for it, try it yourself. Because there are lots of things that you miss. If you miss to get a true working situation, you will miss a lot of things. If you are not careful, you will miss them. And if you miss something, it will fail like crazy on you. And that is okay. And that is totally, totally fine if you actually do not succeed in getting to run. But please try it. Please try it, and please come on Slack chat and show me the error you're running into, because I know it is complex. There are lots of moving parts to think through and actually modify your kitchen to get it to a working scenario. And that is what you need to be able to understand, what are the moving parts. And one last thing before we do that exercise is that, this chef command, bundle exec, knife EC2 server list, will actually show you that machine running in your cloud right now. There it is. And you can see that it is running. And this is the ID that we have. So that ID I want to grab, copy it, and I want to kill the machine. Bundle exec knife EC2 server and delete. You can delete a machine like this. And it should go and kill the box. And it did. And by the way, it also tells you a message that the corresponding node and client entry for this particular machine was not deleted and remain registered with the chef server. It means there is a cleanup required. Cleanup. The cleanup required is something like this. Bundle exec knife node delete from the chef server, delete the node entry. And also bundle exec knife client delete the same. And that also gets deleted. Now you have a clean situation. Now what you see is knife EC2 server list. I should say bundle exec. And then you should see a dead machine. So there is a dead machine terminated. It shows up terminated. And this will go away in 1 hour, but that dead body remains for 1 hour before it is taken away. On the dashboard, you can see 0 running instances, but the dead body shows up. It goes away in 1 hour. And that is what you're seeing here, terminated. And that's the discussion today. In summary, please try that module yourself. I'm talking about the one we did today, which is this one, which is a intermediate step to getting to the higher next exercise, which is try this one that I just pasted on the link on Slack chat, which is your module number 7. Yes. So try 7 today, and we'll do next time we meet module 7. Try that yourself. And it's okay to fail. It is totally okay to run into errors. Okay to fail, okay to generate errors. No problem. Please do it. I will be happy to see that you actually have errors generated, because that will help you in identifying what does it take to get to a situation where it works. So please do it. Do it. Module number 7. Please find time and do it. And next time we will do the next module number 8, which is one of the most intense exercises you will do. So after that, it will actually reduce the amount of intensity that we will go, and we will think more conceptually, more at a slightly higher level. We will still occasionally go and do nitty-gritty nuts and bolts, sometimes hands-on, sometimes discussion, and it'll become more participatory. And I would like you to talk. I'd like you to keep the microphones open and talk and ask questions like some of you do. And so please do that. And we will do this. So it will reduce the hands-on work over time, as we finish this module 8. This is the most intense, by the way. It is intense. So just cautioning you that, but I want you to do this. Absolutely do that. And so please try, please fail, please generate errors and get it to work with me. And Slack chat anytime is welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Let me pause recording. And here we go.